Mohammed Shaik. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. So let us take up this session. We spend some more time on it. The invisible hands, leadership's pivotal role in supply chain excellence by Mohammed Shaik. Okay, so I think we had one session yesterday. Sheikh sir. So we had emotional intelligence yesterday at in the same. Maybe it's at 6 o'clock. Okay, so it was a good session. Okay, so we really enjoyed it. So now we are talking about leadership. Okay, so that is something. So let me give a quick introduction to Mohammed Shaik. Mohammed Shaik is a technology leader focused on agile transformation, product management, and growth in fintech and e-commerce. He boosts team productivity and drives customer-focused product strategies using change management and AI to enhance efficiency and streamlining operations. So he's excellent. His expertise in product management we have already witnessed in a couple of our lectures, and it's amazing. So over to you, Sheikh Mohammed. So happy to hear you again.
Thank you, sir.
Interesting topic. Role.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, and also you can see the presentation.
Yep. You can see my presentation as well, right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. So this is I'm Sheikh Mohammed. I'm a freelancer based out of Dubai. Mr. Sheikh Abdul Khadir happened to be my batchmate. We both together studied engineering and we stayed in the same dorm. So our friendship has been more than close to 37 years. So that's how we both are, connected to each other. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. So this is a Saturday evening in time. So let's get set go. So I would like to extend my gratitude to Data Labs India Solutions Private Limited for giving me this opportunity to share my wisdom with such a remarkable audience. So a little bit of, context about this talk. Before I get into the context, so a little bit of housekeeping. This content, whatever I'm going to present, is going to be shared with the audience. And let's make this session more interactive and engaging. I don't want this thing to be like a one-way monologue. Please, if you want to speak out, to share your insight, experience, expertise, I'll ask a facilitator to unmute you, and you guys can unmute yourself also. And please come forward and then share your experiences. And then, of course, we have Q&A session at the end also. But I don't want you to wait till the end of the session to ask your questions. You can stop me wherever you feel you can ask me, and then you can share as well. Okay, so that's how a little bit of housekeeping about this talk, and then this is what at a high level what we are going to discuss. I'm going to talk about the context, because context is very, very important. Otherwise, what happens is things will become absolute if you don't put the context in place. So I'm going to put the context. First, I'll explain the context in which we are going to discuss the topics which are listed over here. And then we get into some of the turbulences in supply chain typically. The another, disclaimer here is that we don't have any numbers here. This talk is more about human behaviors. Okay, as a leader, what kind of human behaviors you need to demonstrate to be a successful supply chain leader. Okay, so that's the underlying premise of this talk. So I'm a little bit under weather, so that's why you I may cough randomly. So please bear with me. So
No
coming
problem.
back to this one, so it's about more about human behaviors. So there are no numbers to share here. There are no case studies to share here, but more about what makes you a successful leader in supply chain management. Okay, that's what the crux of this whole thing. So we're going to discuss about snapshot of your turbulences. Then we're going to talk about imperatives in supply chain context and what makes leadership essential in supply chain function as a function, and what are the traits you need under your belt to be a successful leader in supply chain. And then few case studies I'm going to refer here, and we may not go in deep into these case studies because we don't have much time. So I would strongly recommend you guys to do offline research around those case studies. I'm sure you must be aware of those things, but still as a reminder. Then I'm going to compare how is this leadership different from supply chain and IT. Okay, so of course we can compare with many functions, but I took IT and supply chain because there is a lot of overlap between these two functions. So just to give you an idea how the behaviors, I mean, comparative between these two functions. So that's we're going to throw some light around that one. And then a small framework which I'm going to suggest in terms of behaviors, which can help you. And then, which is very, very important, is at the end, a call to action. What is that we need to apply when we go back to our day job as a supply chain leader? And then Q&A and appendix. I've added a few references as well, and you guys can go through those references when you have time. Okay, so that's the content in terms of what we're going to cover. Okay, now let's get into the context. As I said, now um, watch this slide very carefully. Okay, I guess there are 17 roles. What I did is I have identified what are the different 17 different roles, not 17 particularly. What are the different roles involved in supply chain? Okay. And then what I did, then I started connecting them in terms of collaboration. Okay. So dotted line, occasional collaboration, single solid line, frequent collaboration, maybe once in a month or twice in a month, and double solid lines on a day-to-day basis, stronger collaboration. So if you see here, this gives you the complexity involved in supply chain management in terms of the communication and collaboration. This is where this function brings the beauty of the complexity and then opportunity for leaders to leverage these turbulences, these challenges, and then convert them into opportunities and make them more successful. And you might observe certain rules without any lines as well. So those rules are occasionally, I mean, as and when required, based on the case you are looking at, may have some kind of a collaboration with the rest of the ecosystem of actors involved in the SEM. Okay, so I want to show you this figure because this gives you an idea. For example, if you see freight forwards and then customs and border control agencies, if you see the solid line between these two, so that means these two actors need to act on daily basis probably. Okay, so that's what. And if you see the another example I want to give it here is manufacturer and producers. Now, if you see that the maximum number of connections are involved around manufacturer and producers. So leaders around that one need to be aware of what kind of collaboration we need to bring in action to make the goals and the KPIs and the business goals set by the company are achieved. Okay, so this is the diagram which gives you a kind of a collaboration diagram. And one action item I would strongly recommend you for your organization. Uh, Go back to your organization and then do this exercise with your stakeholders. Sit with your stakeholders and do this exercise. You may not have 17 stakeholders or 20. It may come to based on the context of your business. Um, you may come up with your own diagram, and then that gives you a kind of a heat map of collaboration where you need to focus in terms of collaboration and communication. Because why I'm insisting so much, I'll give you a simple example. Let's say there are only two actors. How many channels are there? There is only one channel of communication between these two actors. Now, let's say I add one more actor to this one. So now three channels. One more actor, then it becomes almost six channels, and it goes on. As I add one new actor to this whole ecosystem, the number of the channels of communications are increasing. And that really makes the system more complex and more interesting as well at the same time. So one call to action for you folks, when you go back, do this exercise and see how your collaboration diagram look like. The opening statement for this talk, it's about what is the hidden force that helps organization navigating these turbulences, which we are going to discuss. So it's all about the behavior, the leader's behavior. Your job is to make complex things easier. So there is a saying that it's easy to make things complex. It's very tough to make things simpler. So your job as a leader is to make things easier. It's about turning complicated processes into simple, clear solutions that help your team and organization move forward smoothly. So it's all about you as a leader involving your team and your organization and making things very clear. So let me give you one more metaphor over here. So uh, let's say there are, you might have seen a number of rivers. Um, if you see, let's take a simple example. One river with which is water is very clear, where you can see the bottom of the river. You can see where the rocks, where the alligators, where the risk involved. And if you navigate as a leader into that river, it's very easy because it's a clear water. Now, at the same time, you take a river and with a muddy water. Now, there is the fun. Here is the fun. Here, you don't know where the rocks are, where the alligators are, where the risks are, but still, you need to take your organization, your team forward, move forward, right? So now, how do we do that? So, as a leader, your job is to make this muddy river into a clear river so that your team and your organization can move forward smoothly. So, it's all about your behaviors, which we are going to discuss, your traits, okay, which are going to make this whole function smoothly successful. So here is my favorite slide of the whole talk. This I took it from someone. I'm sorry, I could not remember from whom. and I improvised this one. So success is function of K. If you are a mathematician mathematical background, probably you know the function f of k comma p comma t comma ul. And sorry, each of these variables, right? There are independent variables, there are dependent variables. So these are independent variables: knowledge, practice. T stands for talent, ul stands for unlearning. You might have noticed here the P is bigger one. Any idea why P is bigger? Anyone?
Wow. It's very insightful.
Anyone? Other than Sheikh Abdul Khader?
Hey guys,
Come on.
can you repeat just to make sure?
So relatively, I have given sizes over here for all the four parameters. K stands for knowledge. Okay. P stands for practice. T stands for talent. And UL stands for unlearning.
Unlearning. Perfect. Mhm. So why the
Okay.
practice is more?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Absolutely, you're spot on. So the P stands for practice. So that is where I have kept the size of the P relatively much bigger than the other parameters, than your knowledge, than your talent, than your unlearning capabilities. So it is all about, if you want to be a successful leader in supply chain function, you need to apply what you learn, what works into your context. It is all about applying yourself. Probably the topics which I'm going to cover in the rest of the presentation, probably you know 60 to 70% of the topics. Okay, so now where is the problem? Why we are not able to 100% successful? The only reason is the way we are applying, the way we are practicing those things is what uh, is the underlying root cause for not achieving 100% success. So, so this is a very important slide for the entire talk. I would strongly recommend for you folks to go back and sit with your teams and do this exercise. Oh, what is that we need to do? Okay, from this, not only from my talk, from the other important talks yesterday, today, and tomorrow. There are going to be some more talks as well. So do an exercise. What did we learn? The K part. Okay, what is that we're going to practice it? Okay, what is the existing already what we have as a talent? And what is that we need to unlearn? Okay, unlearning is very important, again, trait or behavior as a leader. Because if you don't keep yourself relevant to the context, you will be thrown out of the window. Okay, so you need to constantly unlearn to learn the new things. So your brain is already full of learning. Okay, when someone says something, oh yeah, I know about this thing, this is not going to work out. So what you're trying to do there is you are validating with your mental model, okay, without looking into the merit what your colleague is saying to you. So it's very important for us to unlearn certain things on a regular basis, and that will create a room in our mental models, and that so that we can bring in the new knowledge and then we can put into practice. Okay, so that's the equation which I want you guys to practice, which I found it very useful even for in my personal professional life. When I put this thing right, this is very helpful. Then let's get into the next topic. A quick snapshot of supply chain turbulences. I have taken, there are a number of course, many turbulences are there. I took only six just to demonstrate what kind of challenges we're going to face as a leader. Navigating through global uncertainties, I think many of the previous speakers talked about the trade wars, regional conflicts, and fluctuating tariffs, which disrupt the operations and increasing costs. That's around the global uncertainties. Then moving on to the next one, it's about responding to disruptions, like, for example, production halts, delivery delays, and unplanned expenses, and challenging companies to maintain continuity. Obviously, because of these reasons, right? It will, sorry, so it will really disrupt the continuity. So we need to respond to the disruptions. Third one is dynamic consumer demands. Consumer preferences shift rapidly these days. If you see in last 5 years, particularly, sorry, the end consumer behaviors have changed very drastically, and this is where the companies are really struggling to match up those consumer preferences in terms of trends, economic conditions, global events, making it difficult to forecast the demand. Earlier, if you look at 10, 15 years before, it was very easy, very smooth. You know, in next 5 years, what is the demand is going to be. Okay, what is the demand going to be in next 10 years? Things were very stable, and things were moving much calmer way, much smoother way. But now in the contemporary world, this is phenomenal. And any company is not able to align with these preferences, changing these preferences, then that company is going to perish at their peril. So out of the six turbulences which I have listed out there, I'll put this one top in terms of consumer preferences. Then balancing cost with sustainability, increasing pressure to adopt sustainable practices. But these often come with higher costs. And then logistical complexities that strain the traditional supply chain models. So we need to keep in mind as a key factor, as a leader, you need to keep an eye on sustainability as well. Moving on to the next two topics, advanced technology, leveraging. Because if you see the manufacturing companies, for example, and their systems, they are not IT guys. They are the end consumers of IT systems, which are built by somebody else. Okay. Now they have many systems to do certain aspects. They have some systems because they have grown in decades. And when you see a company which has grown in decades, and you see their system, IT systems are full of legacy and number of systems which are integrated and which made the whole thing more complex. Okay, so integrating them to so that they talk to each other seamlessly is another challenge for the leaders. So you need to keep an eye on that one as well. I'm going to throw some light around that one as well in coming slides in call to action as well. And then, of course, talking about talent, I think my previous speaker touched about how the brain drain from Africa to Western countries, how it is really impacting their own growth. So a global shortage of skilled supply chain professionals creates bottleneck in decision making and execution as well. This really impacts your growing demand for new and tech savvy competencies. So these are six turbulences which I have listed out, and we see each one by one how, as a leader, what kind of behaviors you need to put in place. Going back to the mathematical equation, the P, practice. Okay, nothing is rocket science in my talk except the emphasis on the P. Okay, practice, 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 apply, apply, apply. Okay, so let's look at some next topic into imperatives in terms of complexity, and then risk and disruption and value creation. Now, these are the imperatives as a leader, supply chain leader, into this context, which I have explained. Okay, from a geopolitical tensions to natural disasters, and then global networks, diverse suppliers, and regulatory challenges. I think my previous speaker also spent a lot of time around the regulatory challenges in terms of medical equipment and then manufacturing around that one. So keep these things in mind as a leader. Okay, complexity, risks involved. So when it comes to the risk, I'll give you a simple example. I'm not sure how many of you are 50 plus. If you are around 20 years, there was something called tape recorder. We used to use it for playing the music. Sorry. So that instrument, tape recorder, used to have two buttons, forward and rewind as well. So as a leader, you need to have these two buttons in your thinking, thought process. So when you press the forward button, you should fast forward next 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. What are the disruptions I can foresee? Okay, and how can I leverage the technology? Okay, risks and disruption as well. So then rewind button, go back, get the data from the past experience, and then collect it, and then again press the forward button. So you need to have these buttons in your brain as a leader to handle these imperatives to be a successful leader. Now, what makes leadership essential in supply chain function? Okay, visionary thinking. So you need to think, align your supply chain strategies with the organizational goals. You cannot have two tangent strategies. Okay, visions. So your as a leader, your job starts from there, aligning your thinking with your organizational goals. Then, as a leader, you need to influence your suppliers, and then building cross-functional um, teams across these actors, which I have shown you the second slide, right? In the context of your business. So let's say when you draw the diagram, that collaboration diagram, let's say you got 8 actors in that diagram. So you need to influence that 8 partners, okay, and then create a cross-functional team and constantly collaborate with them based on the context, and then influence them. Influencing skill is very, very important as a leader. And then, of course, as agility, you need to respond quickly to the disruptions. So you need to have a mechanism where your your company as a system can respond to the disruptions quickly. Okay, that's where the agility comes into practice. Again, this is the organizational muscle you as a leader need to build. Okay, it's not about you, it is about building the system of your company in terms of behaviors. When I say system, I'm not talking about the IT systems, I'm talking about the human behaviors. For example, let's say you are a VP of particular vertical, and you have, let's say, senior directors, half a dozen senior directors reporting into you. Okay, now how can you make these 6 people or your shadows, okay, your copies or your what you call clones, so that they also respond to the disruptions quickly, so you don't become a bottleneck over there, which I'm going to talk in detail in coming slides around how can we bring in the people focus as a lead. Okay, so what are the core leadership traits we need to be a successful leader? Okay, one, as I said, visionary thinking, emotional intelligence. I think Sheikh sir already referred yesterday. We had a talk around emotional intelligence, and then we're talking about agility and resilience, and then technological acumen and people centrism. This is what the last one which I was talking about, which I go double click in the coming slides. Let's go one by one. So as I said, right, align supply chain objectives with organizational goals. So your job starts from there. Sorry, and then focus on long-term sustainable growth rather than short-term profits. So this is again choice between short-term and long-term benefits. And as a leader, you need to see what is that I need to make a decision. Is it the right thing, right choice? Okay, so you need to put both the things in front of you while you make the decision. Example is I can quote around Amazon's supply chain vision revolutionized the e-commerce logistics globally, phenomenal. And if you go and study their model, there is a lot to learn and unlearn as well. Okay, so you have knowledge A there, and then you have unlearning UL there. Okay, and then you pick these two things and then put it in practice into your function, in your company, in your business, where you are, wherever you are, and probably that's where it will help you to in setting up the strategic direction, which is aligned with the organizational goals as well. This is very, very important because this direction is very important. Whether you are moving at this pace or this pace is slightly a different challenge. But if the direction itself, instead of going in this direction, you are going in this direction, then it is fundamentally there is a big, huge flaw in your strategic direction. So keep that in mind. You as a leader um, need to make sure things are aligned at the top and then focus on long term and then sustainable growth than the short term profits. Okay, keep those two things. That makes you a visionary leader. Okay, that's one. And moving on to the next one, agility and resilience. Build redundancy, dual sourcing, inventory buffers. Without costing much to the company because many of the supply chain experts say inventory is a liability, right? You cannot have unlimited inventory because I may need it anytime now. Now, the example I can give you is here, the Toyota, the production system, TPS. Oh, wonderful. I'm not sure how many of you read Toyota production system books. There are a number of books out there. And if you see, they're just-in-time manufacturing process. Oh, beautiful. And they do this whole just-in-time thing globally. And sorry, the data point I can give you is around um, average distance between Toyota production plant and the average distance between the supplier, between Ford and Toyota. Anyone, any guess?
Can you repeat, please?
The distance, average distance between Toyota manufacturing plant and the suppliers of Toyota, okay,
Okay.
average distance between their plants to the
Mm-hmm.
Toyota parent manufacturing unit compared to the Ford.
Okay. So it must be very close compared to the Ford.
It's very, very interesting. I would strongly recommend you guys to do a study on this one as well. On an average, in Toyota case, it's around 30 plus kilometers. When it comes to Ford, it is 100 plus kilometers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this was the case because what they have done, Toyota production system, they have not optimized their own systems. They have optimized their suppliers also.
It's supply chain. Yeah.
They have educated them. Hey guys, we are following this process. This is beauty, and this is what we have been getting fruits out of this process is putting in place. And they educated their suppliers as well. So they have transformed the entire ecosystem. And that has really helped Toyota to be on the top when it comes to the quality and the other aspects as well. So keep that in mind in terms of how we can build the ecosystems to address these kind of disruptions and be prepared with contingency plans as well. As and when required, you need to have plan B, C, D. Again, as I said, there is no rocket science here. The rocket science here is how good are you in applying those things. Your timing plays a major role. Okay, when you need to make a decision. Okay, that is what you may have a wonderful contingency plans, but if you don't take the action at the right time, probably it may not help the organization. Okay, so have that muscle of agility and resilience in the organization through your leadership. Okay, that's number two. Number three, technology leadership. um, I'm sure all of you are aware of AI, how AI is really driving the whole technology stack and then business models, how it is transforming the entire ecosystem of industries. Okay, so you need to leverage AI, IoT, Internet of Things, and then blockchain to drive the transparency, efficiency, and innovation. So So you need to keep an eye in technology as well. Invest in these digital tools for better decision making and real time insights. This is very, very important. The real time insights.
Mhm.
What is happening is, I'll give you an example. In 1999, okay, if I ask you how many mobile phones are going to be there in next 5 years, there was no data in 1999. Before earlier to 1999, for the first time globally, we got to see the smartphone in 1999. So prior to 1999, there was no data. So how can I predict that what next 5 years are going to be? So, so those are the days gone where you take the historical data and then you can forecast the future. Now, those days gone. Now we are into a different um, kind of dynamics where things are happening, changing in real time. So you need to invest in digital tools, okay, in making the better decision making. It's all about decision making. Okay. Oh, should I do it today or tomorrow? Okay. Now choice between these two. Now what is the data I have? What is the risk involved? Okay. If I take this one today, what are the risks involved? What is the cost involved? How is this impacting my KPIs? So all these questions, right? As human beings, we have our own limitations. We may not probably um, have all the knowledge as humans, no matter how expert you are in the given function, but still you need to leverage the technology. So I've seen case studies as well where companies are leveraging these technologies. In coming slides, I'm going to show. In fact, yesterday's speaker, Alexander Bog, right? I'm working with him on one particular experiment. How can we bring in the AI thing into the traditional supply chain management education? So, so that's something when I had a conversation with Mr. Alex as well. So we agreed on, and we're working on that one. How can we bring in in the education itself, in the supply chain management, these components where we can make our employees in the organization who are the decision makers, okay, who can leverage these small tools, okay, and then with minimal data, okay, and they can run these tools and then see how it is going to be, like as I said, the fast forward button, and then based on that, as a leader, you can leverage this and make the decision. Okay, so so this is very, very important as a leader. You need to be at least functional. You may not have hands-on knowledge around these things. That's okay. As a leader, you have so many other things as well. You don't have to be hands-on on these technologies, but at least functionally, what AI can do help us. Okay, what are the use cases in my context? Identify those use cases. Okay, then talk to your IT team leader. Okay, and then have a collaboration, and then see what are the existing tools and how effective and ineffective they are, and then see what delta you can bring in with this new use case and then applying these technologies. So this is another area where you need to focus on as a leader. Then moving on to the next, which is sustainability leadership. It is around environmental, social, and governance principles. We need to embed into our decision making so that we are creating a future focused supply chain. Okay, we are not burning the bridges, right? So rather we need to think about the future as well. So as a leader, there's a lot of responsibility lies on you, on your decision making about the ESG concept. Reducing the carbon footprint, sustainable sourcing and logistics, how Unilever has built their initiatives on sustainability. A lot of case studies are there. You guys can do research around these things to get more insights and then put it in practice. Learning is K is one part. The practice is very, very important. Okay. Then people centric. This is again, as I said, right? Foster collaboration across departments. So you are going to work with number of departments, suppliers, regions, uh, whatnot. So probably 80% of your time is going in collaboration, in communication, in talking to these people. When I spoke to number of leaders in this particular function, all the time, most of their time, 70 to 80% of their time, they spend on this particular aspect, in collaboration, communication, and making things sure that everyone, the entire ecosystem is on the same page. So you need to build people-centric leadership as well. That's what I said, human touch. It's not transactional, it's more human touch. So as a leader, you need to be empathetic to your suppliers, and then your vendors, and then your logistic partners, I mean, whatnot. Okay. And then you need to build strong relationships with them. And those relationships will save you in difficult situations. Okay, so as a leader, you need to have that people-centric leadership capability or competency under your belt, so that you can empower your teams and collaboration happens on a smoother one. Okay, it's very, very important to empower your team so that they become high-performing teams. Okay, so make sure that it's not about the your business KPIs, it's your team building KPIs as well. So it's the combination of these two things will make you as a true leader uh, contributing to the success of the company. Okay, so keep that in mind. And then moving on to the some of the case studies which I have listed out. One is Nike and Myers PNG. You guys can do offline research on these case studies, how these companies have successfully built the supply chains globally, and then what kind of um, practices they have done, what kind of policies, what kind of principles, values they have brought in, collect them, and then bring it into your context and try to apply. Now, next topic is I'm going to compare, as I said in the beginning, I'm going to compare with the IT leadership and supply chain leadership. Okay, so let's quickly see focus areas. What are the focus areas for IT leadership? Managing digital systems, software development, infrastructure, cybersecurity, data integrity, system uptime, and ensuring seamless digital operations, and information flow, code, and data. These are some of the focus areas of IT leader. Now let's look at what are the focus areas of a supply chain leader. Concentrates on managing the physical goods and logistics, including procurement, production, inventory, and distribution. Focuses on supplier relationships, transportation, efficiency, cost management, deals with tangible challenges like material shortages, transport delays, and warehouse management. Look at the spectrum of two different functions when you compare with the IT and then the supply chain leadership. How focus is totally different one. This is something we need to recognize, and because you cannot have the same skill set and same traits to be successful as a supply chain leader and then as a IT leader, because your focus areas are different, your direction is different, your energy goes into different direction, whereas here your energy goes into different direction. So you need to keep that in mind in terms of the differences between focus areas. Then in terms of metrics and success, IT leaders metrics include system uptime, network reliability, response time, measure the success of digital transformations, cost reduction IT operations. So those are the KPIs for your IT leadership. Whereas for supply chain, include on-time delivery rate, order accuracy, inventory turnover, carbon footprint, those kind of things. And success is gauged by cost efficiency, the dollars. At the end of the day, it all boils down to the cost efficiency, lead time reduction, and services level improvements. See the difference between these two leaderships. And then obviously the energy here you're going to invest is at a different place with a different frequency, uh, with different magnitude in between when you compare with the IT leadership in different areas. And then in terms of the shared traits between these two leaders, vision, agility, and collaboration. It is there for both the leadership functions, whether you are in IT or in supply chain. Okay, you need to have visionary, which we talked about earlier as well. Forward thinking strategies, fast forward button, and then the rewind button, and the agility in terms of responding quickly um, to the disruptions, and then collaboration, the diagram which I have shown in the beginning of my talk. So which are common between these two leaderships, IT and your supply chain manager. What are the differences? IT leaders must deeply understand software and digital trends, while supply chain leaders require expertise in logistics and management.
Uh, Durrani bhai, I will be away for 10 minutes, so I'll just connect on my mobile. Okay.
Sure, sure.
You can continue. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
So, so the difference here you see, the technical acumen, IT leaders must deeply understand software and digital trends, while supply chain, they functionally need a little bit of knowledge, and then, but they need to be leaders. They need to be very well versed with the logistics and manufacturing. That's um, um, non-negotiable for supply chain leaders. In terms of risk management, IT leaders focus on cybersecurity risks, whereas supply chain leaders manage risks like supplier failures or transportation delays. So that's how these two differences comes in terms of leadership traits. Then examples of leadership in action. IT leadership's example during the pandemic, examples like Zoom, how Zoom has evolved during the global pandemic, right? And in Indian context, how PhonePe, the digital payments platforms have evolved during the pandemic. More that the second example I gave you more specific to Indian context. The Zoom is much more global. So how it has supported global remote work demands. And whereas supply chain leadership example, Toyota's leadership during the semiconductor shortage exemplifies the supply chain agility, leveraging stronger supplier relationships and just-in-time processes to minimize the disruptions. So those are the examples, different examples in action from the IT and as well as supply chain leadership point of view. And in terms of integration opportunities between IT and supply chain, IT and supply chain leadership will increasingly overlap in areas like automation, data analytics, blockchain. These are some of the areas where they spend a lot of time in terms of integrating their systems, these areas. For example, Walmart's blockchain system improves both supply chain transparency and IT manufacturing robustness, ensuring traceability, and trust between the partners. A small framework which I recommend to folks on the call is around self-assessment. I would strongly recommend you folks to recognize that change begins with you. Okay, before you endeavor onto a journey of transforming your company, your team, first you need to change yourself. Okay, so the change starts with you. Reflect on your leadership style, decision making process, and areas of personal growth to better equip yourself for driving the transformation. So the change starts with you, and then assess the complete supply chain end to end. Identify the strengths to build on, weaknesses to address, and potential risks or opportunities to ensure a comprehensive understanding of your current state. Then align, bridge the gap between the supply chain operations and overarching business goals. Alignment. This is as we talked about visionary leadership trait. And then act, which is going back to my equation of P. Move beyond planning, lead by example, take decisive actions, foster collaboration across teams and partners, and inspire others to contribute actively to the shared vision, which I talked about in the previous slides. So this is a small framework. You can put it in practice, um, doing your own self-assessment, and then assessing your supply chain end to end, then aligning your goals, supply chain goals with the organizational business goals, and then act yourself in a decisive way where you take the decisions at the right time. Now, the last item I have for you is the call to action. Embrace leadership role in driving sustainable resilience and innovative supply chains. Sustainability prioritize the carbon neutral logistics, um, and then ethical sourcing and circular supply chains. Resilience, diversify suppliers and build redundancy to handle disruptions. Innovation, encourage new technologies and practices like we discussed about. Bring those things into practice, the innovation. Okay, lead to empathy and the human touch, which we talked about. Build trust by addressing suppliers and team challenges. Um, and then agility, adapt rapidly to disruptions like COVID and all logistical issues. Um, Collaboration, break silos and foster transparent partnerships with all the stakeholders which are applicable in your context. Lead through empathy, agility, and collaboration. Think long term to ensure competitive advantage, strategic vision, align supply chain and business goals to anticipate trends, and then future ready investments. So you also need to think about, as I said, fast forward button. You need to think about what are the future investments we need to put in. Okay, what kind of skills we need to develop, what kind of technologies we need to secure the long-term growth. Okay, bring in the case in mindset, continuously improving things on a day-to-day basis. So if I'm a leader, Sheikh is a leader on 21st December, and Sheikh should not be the same leader on 22nd. On 22nd, Sheikh should be the leader on 21st plus Delta. That's the kind of mindset you need to bring in your entire organization. Let's say in your function, there are 100 people who are working in your function. Imagine that the 100 people, if every employee brings that delta on a day-to-day basis, what they do at work, that's huge. That's huge. That means your organization is growing on a day-to-day basis, improving on day-to-day basis. So keep that in mind in terms of continuous improvement, which will really help your team and your organization. Your team invest in building skilled and adaptable teams, foster a culture of collaboration, innovation, continuous improvement. Equip team members with training programs to upskill and embrace modern supply chain practices. Uh, I think if you have your internal training programs, which are based on conventional, traditional supply chain management, it's time for you to revise it, make it more relevant to the context, and see what kind of changes you can bring in so that your employees are up to date and they are well aware of what is happening around the world. And at the same time, your organization goals align, promote cross-functional collaboration, and then bridge the silos, break the silos, work as one team behavior. We need to bring in the one team behavior and develop strategies for resilience and sustainability. So this is at an organization level. So you need to break the silos and then bring the collaboration on yourself. Leverage the technology, as I said, AI, IoT, and blockchain. Integrate with your legacy systems, which will help you with your foundational legacy systems and the modern aspects of these technologies, which will together will help you in terms of achieving better business goals. Quick recap: we are almost the end of the time. So, so, so your leadership is a function of knowledge, practice, talent, and unlearning. This equation is not only applicable to you, but it is applicable for every employee of your organization. So they should look at this equation on a regular basis and then see what kind of changes they need to fine tune within themselves, okay, so that they are positioned for success. Okay, so with this, if you guys have any questions, I mean, I'm happy to take. Okay, and if you want to share anything, we are happy to learn. We have few more minutes. And closing remarks, we'll come back to the questions. Leadership in supply chains transcends the logistics management. It's about building a seamless, integrated, resilient, and sustainable ecosystem that adapts to the challenges and operates efficiently. Minimal intervention and enabling consistent value delivery on long-term basis. So the system you are building should not be human dependent. Like I have seen in many organizations, when some leader leaves and there is a lot of vacuum there because that person has carried away a lot of knowledge and a lot of expertise, a lot of talent along with that person. And that has created a vacuum and that has impacted the growth and success of the organization. So we don't want to have that kind of a situation. Rather, we want our leaders to create a system which can operate with minimal intervention. Okay. So some references I have put it over here for you folks. You can refer. These are my coordinates. Anyway, this deck will be shared with all the participants. Okay. Let's open the floor for a few minutes. If there are any questions, I'm happy to